Welcome to the Unstoppable Business Podcast. Dive into top business trends, ideas, and tips to help you run a better business. Let's jump right in today with your host, Samera.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on future-proofing your accountancy firm. Today, backed by popular demand, I'm joined by Samera and also our international accounts team. So we have Pankaj in India and we have Gargan joining us from London. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Chris. Hi. How you doing, Greg? You all right?
Yeah, not bad at all. It's good to have you all here. And back, despite popular demand, I'm Chris O'Shea, Head of Digital Marketing at Samera. Right, so let's get straight into it. So what's going on? What's happening in accountancy at the moment? How are things changing? What's the landscape looking like?
Sure. Let me answer that, Chris, with my kind of grey hair of experience, okay? I've been running a firm 20 years and I've never seen things change in this accountancy industry so quickly, so rapidly over the last 20 years. And I think in the last 4 or 5 years, things are rapidly changing even further. In the UK, US, Australia, Canada, these types of places, what we're seeing is the need for more and more compliance work happening, okay? Therefore, if you have more work to be done, you need more and more accountants. But a massive issue is there's such a lack of resource in kind of Western economies, mainly due to an aging population, but also due to people not entering the accountancy industry. So that's led to many firms struggling. So we see the large firms taking a lot of the people on, so the PwCs, the Ernst Youngs, those types of people taking lots of people, but then the smaller firms really struggle to hire. So what we're seeing now is a change in how things are run. We've seen kind of accountancy firms now over the last few years have been outsourcing and offshoring, and we've been doing that almost 20 years in different guises. But now I think this is kind of becoming the accepted norm. In addition, technology is changing at a rapid pace with AI now kind of leading the way. And before AI was even a thing in the last few months, it seems to have gone crazy. AI was already integrated into much of the software that's out there, things like Xero and HubDoc and Sage and these types of things. There is AI already in there, but I think now AI is a really big issue going forward. Okay, so lots of change, but with change comes opportunity, and I think it's an exciting time to be in accountancy, but you have to be ready to adapt and to be flexible. What do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely. I can agree with you on that. I think the speed at which the technology's changed over the last decade is phenomenal, and especially how we see all of these apps being integrated into, basic software that allows us to do sort of bookkeeping or accounts, in all sort of parts of accountancy fields is amazing. And I think if you don't keep on top of the change in technology and don't modernize your systems and your processes, then you sort of fall behind the competition in the industry. And so it's very important to be on top of it. And I think you've really touched on a very important aspect that's really has become very prominent over the last few years, is the lack of skilled resource, especially in the UK. And we've seen that not just in accountancy, we've seen that across all industries.
Yeah.
So that's heavily affecting, it starting from a small one-man band to sort of large multi corporations. They're all being affected by this. I think with the change in technology and the issues with the resource and the compliance burden we have in UK, I think we are now seeing a rise in people looking at alternatives to these solutions. We're not following the same approach that we had sort of a few years ago. Now we're reinventing the wheel to some extent, to be fair. Pankaj, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so as we need to be updated, so we need to hire young and talented resources, and for that, India is the best hub. So we are doing our hiring and training, and we are making staff development. It is very useful. So let's hope for the best now.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
Yeah, so we've talked about accountancy firms themselves being affected. Would I be right then in thinking the other small to medium enterprises, say dental practices or anything that isn't an accountancy firm, are they seeing less and less in-house accountancy?
Yeah, so if you look at a large, let's say you look at a finance function of an organization, any larger business, okay, they're struggling to hire people just like we are, I guess, okay, because there's just not enough resource. So if you had a team of 10, Now, increasingly, some of these finance firms or finance departments of these large corporations are outsourcing. So if you talk about, I met with a friend the other day, and he works for a very large Swiss group that sells chocolate, which you probably have heard of. Okay, things like Kit Kat and stuff like that, and their operation, he's here in the UK, but he says all our finance department, most of it is run out of 3 or 4 other locations across the world. Okay, I think he mentioned India was one of them, Indonesia was another one, and somewhere else, or Philippines as well. So the large corporates have probably been doing it for a number of years. Okay, because they can see the benefit, the staff, the costs are lower, capable people, but now it's coming ubiquitous. I think even small to medium-sized enterprises need to do that, but it's much harder when you're a small business to do that. Therefore, you need partners to help you to achieve the same goals that these large corporates have.
Okay. Do you think it might be the end of in-house accountancy in small to medium businesses?
I don't think it'll be the end. Okay, I think you still need good people. I think, and that's the point. I think the issue that we have, I think, here in the UK is finding good people. There are certainly some very good people, okay, but we all need all businesses need good people, and therefore sometimes you have to look further afield to say, well, I've got some good people in the UK, but I want to find good people, and they may well be in India, they may well be somewhere else in the world to support my business. Because as a business owner, you've got to think globally. You cannot think just hiring the local bookkeeper and hiring the local accountant in my team. You might not just find anyone.
Right. So if they're going to compete smaller businesses, they're pretty much going to have to look into outsourcing, offshoring for
I think
accountancy.
in some guys, in some shape or form, I think so. Gagan, what do you think? What do you think, Gagan?
I think, yeah, I think you're right. I think in order to be competitive, in order to grow, in order to run a business effectively and efficiently, you do need to look at, the changing world around you and change with it. Like Aaron mentioned already, large corporations have been doing it for a number of years, and I think outsourcing has existed for over a decade, and it's been very effectively used. But it is very easy to get it wrong if you don't have the right experience. And when you do have the right experience, it can work like a dream. And I know from experience and talking to colleagues who've tried, offshoring and outsourcing before, and things haven't gone in the right direction for them. It's because, it could be the circumstances, it could be the partner. For one reason or another, they've not had great success with it. And I think with the change in technology and the development in technology now, there's a lot more opportunity. And as this grows, it's growing at such a pace that if you don't join this particular, I don't necessarily want to call it trend, but I think it's a business strategy. If you don't join this business strategy, if you don't embrace the change, if you don't embrace the change in technology and what is happening, you'll sort of realize in somewhere down the line that you've missed out on that opportunity. And it gets harder and harder because the world keeps moving forward every day, every minute, as the industry changes. So I think you will see a lot of change in the next 5 to 10 years significantly, but it's now more accessible to smaller businesses than it was before, largely because to the development of the technology. And if you have the right partner, it makes it easier and it does actually become fruitful. Whereas if you don't have the right partner or if you don't have the right experience, it can very easily go the wrong way. So that's really the thing to think about.
Okay. Pankaj, have you got any thoughts on that as well?
I think Gagan covered it all. All good.
Brilliant. So who's gonna win out of all this? To me, it seems like, offshore accountancy is going to win. Is this going to make it easier for small to medium businesses? Are they going to see problems with this, or is it going to essentially take the worry off their hands? I think in-house.
If you looked at it from the point of accountancy firms in the UK, this is a market I know well. I've been running a firm for the last 20 years, and I know how it got increasingly difficult to hire good people here in the UK at an affordable rate of quality. And personally, I think it'll be the winners will be those who do embrace changes Gagan mentioned, okay, who are involving and using technology to the best of their benefit, but also those who also embrace the offshore model. Okay. Now, when I say offshore model or outsource model, you still need good people here in your team here in the UK. There's no doubt about that. Okay, I'm not questioning that at all. But you need to, a lot of the routine jobs, routine activity can be offshored, which can save time, which can save cost, and therefore the team in the UK can then start working on other added value services such as tax planning or business advisory or whatever it might be. So the winners in my mind, are the ones who are embracing change, okay, embracing offshoring, embracing technology and AI and all of these things. They're going to be the winners, okay. And I think if we're in an era and also in an industry that if you do stagnate, as Guggen quite clearly said, if you stagnate, you're dead in the dishwater, as they say. Okay, you're dead. Okay, so you have to change, you have to evolve. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned that some jobs will still be able to be done in-house, some will have to be offshore. What kind of things do you think kind of will need to be offshored if you want to grow competitively?
Guggen, what do you think? But you've kind of, you're on the operations side particularly, so you know more than on an operational point of view.
I think it really sort of depends on your business model. But largely I would say that typically what we've seen that works quite well is having client relationship managers here, for a number of reasons, whether there's a cultural gap, whether there's a timing issue, whether there's that ability or proximity to go see the client and build that relationship. And to provide an outstanding service to a client, you really need to understand their business. And again, proximity is an element of that. So to be able to go see a client, to sit face to face, to have that human interaction, to be able to discuss the issues they're facing, not just from an accounting point of view, from a business operations point of view, where they don't have somebody else they can speak to on that front. And that's typically what we find is that businesses don't necessarily have the resources to have a full-time, for example, financial director on board. But they do need those expertise from time to time. It could be you just need them once a month or twice a month, but you need that input, whether it's from a tax point of view, from a business structure point of view. So I find that the roles that really sort of work well in UK are the ones where you have that relationship management element, CRM element, and the things that the other compliance work, largely, which is bookkeeping, accounts, or anything that can be done remotely, whether it's mostly administrative tasks that don't require constant interaction or physical meetings, then those can be done very, very well, provided we've got good systems and processes surrounding that particular element of it, and there's good communication across borders. That works quite well in India, and they're very capable and intelligent, workforce in India, that are very technically astute, and they can deliver great results. And again, that comes back to being able to provide that service at a cost-effective model, so that you can then do more added value work here in UK. And that's a win-win for everybody. Offshoring wins, the clients win, because you're able to then charge a reasonable fee for the work that you're doing. And you also win because of the lower cost. It sort of adds to the bottom line on your end. So it works as a win-win for everybody, but getting those key roles right is very crucial at the start of the relationship.
Agreed.
Okay, so it sounds like in-house accountants might need to not necessarily change, develop the role, but account management skills are going to become much more important as opposed to just financial management skills. Like you said, being that bridge between the offshore and the in-house.
Yeah, correct. Very much so.
Yeah. That's going to be an interesting development.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. So how else do you reckon small businesses and accountancy firms can grow and compete competitively? Is it essentially just embracing the change, not holding back from it, getting ahead of the curve, and bringing in the right knowledge?
I think that's certainly that.
Sorry,
go on, you go.
So I definitely think that it's not just about embracing the changes. I mean, there's an element of understanding how to actually implement that change in your operations, in your business, to incorporate that in your strategy, to structure it properly, so that it's not something that it's not just an idea that we're implementing. It's having a thoughtful, a planned strategical action behind it, and then monitoring it, and then growing with it,
Mhm.
really, it's something that sort of grows with you, because when you implement a change, and this is a big change for any firm, whether
Mhm.
small or large, and it requires a lot of careful planning from an operations point of view, from client's point of view, from your point of view, to manage expectations. So compliance work is really at the heart of all of this. You cannot miss a hard deadline, for example, with HMRC, and you'll have soft deadlines with clients who want their work done on time, early. So having that sort of strategical planning would help to make sure there's minimum disruption to business, minimum disruption, to the team members, to the existing team members, to the management, to the systems, because then there's an element of incorporating systems here and abroad, and doing that right would make it easier, and there'll be less change resistance in the early stage and make it more successful later on. So I think having that is a very, very important aspect of actually putting
Yeah.
it in action, not just knowing it that this is how you do it, but the detailed action plan behind it. Sorry, Aaron. So
No,
I interrupted you. Apologies.
no, that's fine. It's fine. I kind of echo exactly what you're saying. I think it's so important. Um, change has to be at the heart of everything that you're doing. Okay, but one of the other things to differentiate yourself is you kind of, if you're offshoring much of the kind of compliance related work, that gives you as a firm an opportunity to look at other areas in your business. Okay, what else can I do? Is there tax planning work I could do? Or maybe I want to become a specialist in a particular sector. Okay, or maybe I want to focus on more the commercial finance side of things. I help clients raise finance and get business plans and do startups and that type of thing. So there's so many angles, but at the core of any accountancy firm is a compliance. Okay, that is at the core, that is the heart of it. And that's what most clients are expecting, for you to be able to do the compliance, the payroll, the accounts, the tax returns, and do that with your eyes shut. We all know it's not that easy, okay, but it all can be outsourced, it all can be offshored, it all can be done by more than capable people overseas, okay, to support your business as an accountancy firm, for you then to look at other angles which perhaps you can generate greater revenue from as well. Okay.
No, some really good points there. And Pankaj, I wanted to ask you. So you're out in India helping to head up the international accounts team we've got.
Yeah.
What are some of the? I mean, so if there's not necessarily a death of accountancy over here, but there's certainly a dearth of accountancy. Why is India becoming such a go-to market for these kind of resources?
Yeah, so the only reason is we have a pool of talented individuals, and they are young and they are energetic. So, and obviously they are just freshers, they are ACCA qualified, CAs, MBAs. So they are not asking for money, they are asking for experience, and they do their jobs very well. So, so I think India is the main hub right now, and it will be increasing day by day. And not only UK, US, and Canada and Australia, they're also relying on Indian talented pools, right? So I think so India is the best place right now.
Yeah.
If I can put that into some other points to add there, Chris, I think a large point, English speaking. Okay, so people speak English, they talk from a young age English, so that's very helpful. From a time zone point of view, it's a 4.5 to 5.5 hour, depending on what time of year you're talking about, time difference. But increasingly, many of the firms in India, or many of the people in the team, work UK hours, okay, which is a huge thing. So anyone that you have in your offshore team over there, it's effective extension of your team. So what we're seeing, and this is what I predict going forward, is people might be working from home increasingly here in the UK or US and everything, but if they're not going to the office, other companies will start thinking, well, actually, why am I paying UK salaries when I can get someone in India at a lower salary, and they're effectively working the same hours sitting in the office? And that's just not an accountancy, that's across all industries. Okay, so I think that's another issue. And I think bottom line, though, is the volume of people in India. That's the bottom line. The UK population is around 60 to 70 million people. Population of India is 1.5 billion people. So the UK population is 4% of the India population. Now, not everyone in India can be an accountant. Not everyone's skilled up and speaks English. Not everyone does that. But there is the population of probably about 400 to 500 million people in that country who are young, hungry, energetic, learning skills. And it might not be in accountancy, it could be in IT, it could be in law, it could be in other professional services. So I think this is a general shift in professional services happening across the board. And what we're seeing just recently, the Indian government announced the opening of the whole legal sector in India. So what we're going to see is a whole load of legal work increasingly going from law firms here to India, I think, over the next few years. Because that was a big barrier for the law firms here to do it, but I think that will change things as well. Accountancy is ahead of the curve in that, but we're still in its infancy. So I think it's an exciting time, and for anyone who has never been to India, I just came back last month and met Pankaj and Gunjan and other team members. But for anyone who hasn't been, and I've been going to India since I was a very little boy, okay, on a regular basis. It's happening, and India is happening right now. It's not going to happen in 10 years. It's not going to happen in 20 years. It's going to happen now. And the next 20 years, personally, I think is what we saw China, what happened in China over the last 20 to 25 years. India's at that stage now where it's about to take off. Okay, there are challenges, there are political issues, there are other things, but underpinning India, are its capable people. Okay, and who speak English. Okay, so China cannot do this because they don't speak English, or a large proportion of the population don't speak English. Okay, they've been very good at manufacturing, but I think even manufacturing will be shifting to India as well from China, as we've seen with Apple. They've moved a large manufacture operation from China to Chennai in southern India. So this is just the beginning, just the beginning.
No, absolutely, especially when you couple it with the development of AI. I mean, you talk about the changes in the legal sector. I was reading a couple of days ago that they're testing out AI in courtrooms now, and it's now just starting to be able to beat human lawyers in arguments. So, yeah, the number of industries that are going to be hugely affected by shifts in technology and demographics is scary and exciting at the same time.
It is scary and exciting, but the key here is that I don't think AI will take away jobs. It will take away some jobs, okay? But the key is to have AI trained people in your team who understand how to get the best out of AI. So our job our job as a team, for our team in India here and in the UK similarly, is to say, well, you're an accountant, okay, but you know what? We need to develop your skills in getting better with AI and using AI in your day-to-day job. Okay, and that's a role that everyone has to do. Okay, if you don't do that, if you don't change and adapt, then again, you're dead in the dishwater.
Yeah.
Okay. Or it's dull as dishwater. I can never get that saying right, but anyway, it's one of those.
Something about water, something about dishes.
You're dead in the water, whatever it is. Yeah. Okay, so but that's kind of what we're seeing. So in answer, and India from a UK standpoint, time zone is great. Now I know the Philippines is another massive offshoring kind of country that's happening, and they seem to work predominantly for the west coast of the US, so California, that side, because of the time zones. Okay, so time zone does play another part. And then another country is South Africa as well, which is happening across the board. But we know India. I've been, as I said, been going to India many years, know lots of people there, know how the culture works. And that's a very important thing. It's the culture. How do you navigate through that culture, understand how the Indian kind of team members work and what their needs are. And at the similar time, the Indian team also need to understand what the requirements are of UK, US, Australian clients are as well. And culture plays a very large part of this as well.
That's a really good point. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions about challenges and pitfalls of all this. But just before I do, we mentioned very briefly local tax regulations. And do you think it's going to be a while until AI and outsourcing can really tackle local tax regulations?
I think it's going to happen very soon. It can do everything. Okay, AI is so smart; it'll pick up everything. So the software we've been using over the years has been pretty good, but now AI integrated into these software, things will change. I think it's I think in a nutshell, I do.
So in-house tax planning might even be
to some extent, because what will happen, that the AI will be able to scan a tax return somehow and interpret the numbers and then come out with this opportunity, that opportunity, this opportunity. It's like bingo, here you go. Okay, and I'm sure people are developing software around that already, and I'm no kind of AI expert in terms of software development, but it's a great idea. Maybe we should look into that. So
just making a note of that now.
yeah.
Well, making
Okay, then.
taxation is a big element of this, isn't it?
Mm.
You know, where was AI is introduced to sort of be able to, for people to sort of pay their tax based on what the projected tax might be at the end of the year. And that's that's been a big shift in the accounting industry. So we can already see this being embraced by HMRC. We can see this already being embraced by software companies like Xero or Sage or QuickBooks and Cashflow or Free Agent, and you name it. I think there's a lot of development happening. It's not necessarily at the forefront right now, but there's a lot of change happening. And before you know it, if you'll need to, if you don't keep pace with it, then you'll be outdated.
Yeah.
Dead in the water, as they call it.
Absolutely. So what will happen, really, if you look at how we've worked historically, you prepare the accounts, you prepare the tax returns for an individual, and then they pay their tax. But what we'd want to do before you pay the tax, what you can do is some type of AI software will analyze that tax return against all the tax legislation here in the UK, and within minutes it'll say, you know what, you haven't optimized this, you need to do this, it puts some money in this pension, do this, and it'll tell you how much to do this. It's like, Christ, okay, it's all done, okay, and then ultimately he needs a sign off from an accountant to sign it off, and off you go. And then suddenly, instead of paying a certain amount of tax, you're paying 30% less because the AI has told you this is the model and it's in compliance with tax legislation. Okay, that's where we're heading. Okay, so the key is to understand how to use that technology, and there will certainly be some winners in this market in terms of the software side of things. But those firms that embrace that type of approach as well will be the winners as well.
That's actually going to raise some really interesting points with like big businesses finding tax loopholes. If you've now got, or if one day we'll have AI telling every Tom, Dick and Harry, oh, there's this loophole and this loophole. That's going to be very interesting for tax legislation as well. Closing loopholes, like, 'cause they won't be exclusive anymore to people who can afford the big accountants. It's said to be open to everyone.
Absolutely.
That's going to be a very interesting development.
It will be an interesting development, and I beg to. I wonder just how it's going to evolve. And
yeah,
if you think about it, this is where AI is going to take us on this little aspect of life. Okay.
Yeah.
Imagine on all other aspects of life how it will change. Yeah.
No, exactly. So let's get into it. What are the pitfalls and the problems and the challenges we're going to face with all of this? It can't all be sunshine and roses.
There aren't
brilliant. Excellent. Yeah. Next question.
Yeah. Okay. What are the challenges, Pankaj? You tell me. What do you, from your Indian perspective, what do you think?
Right now, I mean, so being in outsourcing industry from the past 12, 13 years, I've seen the major challenge initially was communication, but we have improved a lot on that side. So communication is not a challenge right now. Yeah, sometimes there is a challenge of data privacy, and some firms in India and some accountants here, they don't follow the data privacy practices, and so this becomes a major challenge. And also, I mean, sometimes there's a challenge about the delivery, the turnaround time they're not able to follow, and but yeah. So coming again to the point, so everything is improving now, and I don't feel there's a offshoring and outsourcing is a bad idea when it comes to India, because we have improved already, and so nobody's perfect, yeah, but yeah, we are going up the ladder, right?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair point. Gagan, what do you think the challenges are?
With AI in particular? Yeah, I think the main.
Or just general,
outsourcing,
generally.
I mean, there's in a nutshell, I think Pankaj has covered that any change will have its opportunities, and any change will have its challenges, and it's how you convert those challenges into opportunities which makes you the winner.
Yeah,
effectively. And I completely agree. There's been issues in the past, with outsourcing, whether it's to do with India or any other part of the world, and those issues with the change in technology, as you can see, have started to eradicate, and things are moving forward. The major issue that people will have in sort of implementing AI, or just general issues with the AI, is having an understanding on how to best use it, how to best use it, where to use it, how it serves a central function to their organization, and how it will help them do more added value and advisory work specifically for UK accountants in the UK. Because effectively, when if you're delegating data-driven work through AI, and offshoring that to, let's say, India, then you have that space. You have that space thinking wise. You have that space time wise. You have that space in terms of cost savings to be able to think about what else you can provide to your clients, what other services you can provide, how you can add more value in order to grow. So I think having a good understanding of how to utilize it in along with a good sort of business strategy would be the key challenge. And that's why it's important to really understand it at its early stages, because AI, as we can see, has developed so much in the last 5 years. In the next 5 years, it'd be a completely different, it'd be a game changer.
Yeah.
I think if I could add, I think I remember the days when I started off my firm, 2003, so 20 years ago, and we started outsourcing very, very early in those days. But the technology wasn't as advanced as it is now. So it was literally, I'd had an admin person in my team, and clients would send in all their paperwork into the office, someone that in the post, okay, and I'd have a permanent team member standing at a scanner all day, scanning all the documents, okay. That would then get put onto an FTP server, okay. Then someone in the UK would have a QuickBooks file, okay, and that wasn't on the cloud. There was no cloud or anything like that. What would happen is then a little bit of information would be set up in that QuickBooks file, and that would then be FTP'd across to India and downloaded on crappy 56k modem connection over in India. They would then look at all the scanned documents, do their work, and once they'd done it, then they'd have to send the file back again over an FTP server to the UK for someone to review. So that was my kind of early introduction of offshoring. Now things have changed markedly, okay, with cloud accounting and everything else that's going with it. But bottom line, the biggest challenge, okay, is getting the right people, okay, yeah. The right people, whether it's UK team, India team, and that to me is everything. Because if you have the right people, your life is so much easier. And we have people like Pankaj and Gunjan in India who kind of lead the hiring side of things and identify the right people with the right technical skills, but also with the right communication skills and with the right attitude. And as we know, attitude is everything. They might not be that have all the qualifications or have all the experience that we want, but if they're keen to learn and they can be trained, we'll train them up. Okay, so we'll train them up, for instance, to get all their zero qualifications. We'll train them up to get everything that they need to do the job, not just satisfactorily, but to a very high standard, to meet our high standards, which ultimately meet our clients' high standards.
It's a good investment.
Yeah,
correct.
Okay, so it sounds like the main challenges are going to be overcome by essentially keeping ahead of the changes in technology and by building the right relationships with the right people.
Correct.
Yeah, essentially essence of business. So with
correct, yeah, that's you're right. You're absolutely right. It is the essence of business. It's all about people, and technology will evolve, and AI will come, and there'll be something in the future beyond AI, I'm sure. But business is ultimately about people. Okay.
Yeah.
Your clients, your team, and managing and looking after that team who then do a good job for your clients. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, culture beating strategy.
Correct. Correct.
So, I mean, we've been talking about AI. Is AI going to make offshoring kind of superfluous? Because, I mean, right now, people, smaller businesses and accountancy firms might need to outsource so that people who know what they're doing can take advantage of the AI technology. But in 5-10 years, if it is going to be a case of upload your accounts, here's my accounts, figure this out for me.
I think that's a great question, Chris. I think to some extent, yes. Okay. But as I said earlier, I think accountants will need to the good accountancy firms will embrace AI.
Yeah.
So you'll need good people who understand it, who are at the kind of leading front of this all. So you'll need people who are trained in AI, who are trained in accountants, who can do both things, and therefore those will be the firms that really dominate the space in my mind. And I think what will emerge is if for the larger players out there, they might struggle, and too many opinion makers or partnerships might struggle, people not making the right decisions and stuff, they come clunky. So it's the smaller lean firms that could have a real advantage here to be able to adopt AI, adopt technology, adopt good people in their firms overseas using offshoring, I think if you combine the two, AI plus offshoring, as I kind of mentioned earlier, I think that's your really winning strategy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you're right, Aaron. When we refer to that conversation, regardless to how much development there is in AI, you'll always need that, expert input from the accountant to be able to cross-cast and check as a quality check to say what AI has told me is correct and I agree with it, or whether I disagree and whether it needs a change. So you obviously cannot blindly rely on it, regardless to how brilliant AI might be. So I think it does come back to having that right sort of people in place who are equally competent in AI and their specialist field in order to sort of deliver the final output.
That's a very good point. And so with outsourcing, obviously you're going to be sending a lot of financial data around the world and a lot of sensitive documents. And I know, Pankaj, you touched on this a moment ago. How can people be sure their data is going to be secure and looked after and safe and not breached?
Okay, so if I could answer that, I think we'd use obviously first all our servers and data centers and stuff are here in the UK. Then we comply here in the UK. We comply with all the GDPR standards. Okay, then the technology that we use overseas is all very up to date, compliant, controlled here by us here in the UK, and we're just making sure that data protection has to be at the top of our list to protect our clients. So there's various standards that we need to meet. Okay, which we do. And obviously those standards are constantly changing and data protection laws are changing in the UK, but I know in India there's even further data protection laws that have just emerged in the last few weeks and months, which we're making sure what we're doing. So security, data protection, personal data, that is at the heart of what we do. So if we don't get that right, then we've got a problem. And like with many other firms, they have a problem as well. So yeah, it's a very important aspect that has to be addressed by anyone doing outsourcing, anyone doing anything. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Operationally, we've developed over some time some very robust and secure systems and processes that help us manage and control the use of that data, whether that's existing clients or extinct clients or any other data that we've gathered. So having that sort of robust policies in place, proper training in place for the entire team, having good systems in place, having good control processes in place, having good quality checks in place, all of that really matters. And I think that's certainly something that we've had a heavy focus on, even before we even considered outsourcing.
Yeah. Okay, and can you touch a little bit on that point on some of the specific software platforms that we've been using and how they help essentially?
Yeah, so I think we use all the UK common software that are out there. So we from accountancy point of view, we use Xero, QuickBooks, Sage, TaxCalc, payroll, we use BrightPay, MoneySoft, all of these things that are out there. So our teams are trained in all of the relevant softwares, wherever they need like a Xero, they have a Xero, not a user license, a Xero certification. Our teams get certified in those types of software where they need them, and we actively encourage that. So software is an important aspect as well, and it's at the heart of what we do to make the job quicker, faster, better for everybody. Okay, and since everything's on the cloud, it's easy. It's very easy. To do.
Okay. Do you think this is going to be because we've touched on like the changes and how accountancy firms especially may need to slim down and change their modus operandi? Do you reckon? Well, is this going to be profitable for accountancy firms here, or do you think it's going to be something they're going to have to overcome and adapt to and essentially change their outlook?
I think it's going to be extremely profitable for accountancy firms in the UK and US if they adopt what we've been talking about, because what it'll do, it'll free up their time, and time is the most valuable thing. The cost of living here in the UK, for instance, is so high, but if you can free up your time by passing on much of the day-to-day compliance work to an offshoring firm, that then affords you, if you're running a firm, to focus on perhaps higher revenue generating aspects such as tax planning, such as business advisory, such as whatever you want to do. And that's when it becomes really, really profitable. Okay. Alternatively, you might just say, I just want to run a compliance firm and I don't want to do any of that, and I'll offshore it again. That's just profitable. But time is the most expensive thing here. Okay. So if you can offshore much of the the kind of day-to-day operational work to a capable, experienced, knowledgeable team who are delivering on time at a decent, affordable rate, then yeah, it'll be certainly very profitable.
If I can add to that, Chris, I
Mhm.
think it not only would it be profitable, I think it'd be the key to survival. I think,
Yeah.
you know, if you're not sort of up to date with what's happening around you, you'll find that you know, you'll have outdated systems, you won't have the right pricing structure, you won't have the right team in place, and you'll struggle to keep up with the rest of them, and you'll just get sort of pushed out of the block really. So I think it not only is it important for growth and profitability, but I think is the key to survival, you know, going forward.
Good point.
That's a really
Very
good point. So, big question, how do we do it? How do firms, small businesses, medium businesses, how are they going to outsource? How are we going to survive, as you say?
Okay, great question, I think, to kind of to highlight. So there's a few options, okay? One option is that you're a firm running in the UK and you think, you know, I want to offshore to India or outsource to India. Now, you could get on a plane and fly out to India and try and hire a team, okay? However, and I'm not saying don't do it, but however, navigating India at the best of times is challenging, okay? As I said, we said earlier, there's opportunity there, it's exciting times, there's a lot going on, but going to a foreign country, understanding their legislation, dealing with the foreign culture, how things are done, it's no easy thing. And now I'm of a British Asian extract, and I go to India. I've got Indian heritage, and I know lots of people in India. I have lots of contacts, friends, family, very well-to-do people that I know out there. But even they're saying, "Well, are you sure that's the right thing to do?" And but that because I've got experience, I know how to do these things out in India. Okay, I've got useful contacts, and we built a team up. People like Pankaj, people like Gunjan, people like others out there. But that takes time, that takes effort, and you might say, you know what, I want to do that. If that's the case, absolutely go for it. Or the alternative is they say, well, why don't you work with a firm that, like ourselves, who bridges India to you? We're not exclusively in India, okay? We're not exclusively in the UK. We work both cultures, okay? So we have a team in India, we have a team in the UK. Our UK team, people like Gagan, like myself, like you, understand the UK psyche, understand the needs of UK accountants. We can then help bridge that to get our team in India to do the work to the standards, the quality, and the deliverability that you require. So kind of two approaches to this. But I think the message is that you want to build a team, whichever way path you take, that is an extension of your current setup here in the UK. So they become part of your team, they're part of your culture. And I'd like to think the team that we have in India is definitely part of that. And we have and they're ready and able to help, whether you're a one-man band accountancy firm or a multi-partner practice dotted in across the UK, we can do that because we've got everything in place. We've got the team, we've got the hiring systems in place, we've got the recruitment processes in place, we've got the training processes in place, and ultimately we've got the team that can deliver and do all the work. So that's kind of my thought process. Gagan, anything to add on that?
Yeah, and that's taken us years to actually get there. It's not something that's happened overnight. You know, we worked incredibly hard to sort of develop these systems and processes and training manuals to sort of get it there. And yeah, you can sort of get on a plane and go to the other side. But getting it right and navigating all of those elements in India is not necessarily easiest. But also you've got to think about the impact of your focus being diverted into that. You know, you don't have the experience, you don't have the knowledge, or you may have the knowledge and the experience, you know, and if you've sort of gone through the experience enough times, you know what not to do. It's something we touched on. I touched with Arun touched on earlier on in a conversation with me that, you know, we've seen what you shouldn't really do and what you should do. So I think if you, depending on what sort of stage you are in the cycle, I think when you're bringing in a change organization wide and something for the long term, it's always better not to jump into it straight away, and look at sort of the experts in the field, get some advice and guidance to do it right, because doing it wrong can have such a costly, it can be so costly, not only for you, for your business, but also for your clients, and that can very easily go wrong. So I think the important thing here is to embrace the change, but to do it in the right way, to make sure you have the right support and guidance on your team, on your side. Make sure you do it gradually, make sure you have a plan, so that it sort of becomes fruitful over a period of time, rather than something that gives instant results. There's no short-term fixes if you want to do this for the long term.
Absolutely. And if I could kind of add to that, I think I've got the t-shirt of experience here. We've done it. I've been there, done that, and I've made every blinking mistake. Trust me, I have. Okay, I'm just being honest with you. But we've been doing it 20 years. Okay, so I've made plenty of mistakes in this process, but from mistakes you learn. Okay, and I'd like to think that we've got a very robust, solid service and delivery capability now coming out of India, primarily because of the mistakes that I've made. Okay, or that we've made, because you'll only know how good you are once you've actually tried something, and once you made a mistake, and then you kind of think, oh shit, I did that. Let's rectify that. Let's make it better. Okay.
The decisions come from experience, and then experience comes from, unfortunately, a lot of bad decisions. So that sort of makes sense.
Totally.
So it sounds like people need to understand that if you are going to go down the offshoring routes on your own, you need to understand that it's not just hiring a few new accountants in a different country. You are literally setting up a new business, and with all the headaches and issues and problems that come with that. It's not going to be quick.
Not 1,000% correct.
Yeah.
1,000% correct. Yeah.
Right. Well, sounds like it's going to be a very interesting 10 years for accounting, business, us.
Absolutely. I honestly, I'm so excited about what's happening in the accountancy sector. It's scary. It's like, oh my God. But at the same time, it's like, very exciting for those who embrace this change, for those who kind of really understand the power and potential with offshoring and AI coming together, and getting the right people to support you. It's a very, very exciting time.
Yeah, and the Luddites are going to be left behind.
Correct.
Right.
Wonderful.
Well, if there's nothing else, any other points from anyone else?
I
think I've asked everything I wanted to ask.
I think we've covered.
You've worn us out. You've worn us out, Chris. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like I could go set up my own one now.
Yeah.
I'll set up a rival accounting firm.
Right. Wonderful. I hope everyone enjoyed some of our insights and knowledge, and this is something I believe we're going to be doing on a regular basis. And watch out for our next webinar.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you to you three. That was so informative.
Thank you, Chris.
I personally learned lots, and I hope everyone else did too.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you for everyone joining us.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
And that's a wrap for another episode of the Unstoppable Business Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it today, and please do share us on social media and make sure you do subscribe. Thank you very much.